Hello, this is Pat, and I'm going to demonstrate, I'd like to demonstrate dimensional analysis in Blackboard Ultra. So I just opened up a blank like I'm doing a test. I'm going to start from the test part. I'd like to be able to do assigned worksheets too, but I don't see formulas come up in anything but tests, so I'm not sure if there's a way of doing a worksheet or if you just call quizzes worksheets. I'm not sure. Anyway, let's move on to adding content. All right, so it says here, I can add a calculated formula question, add calculated numeric question. I'm not sure what the difference is between the two, so I'm going to go for the formula question. Okay, so when I get in here, let's just say DA question. And now let's enter in the question that I wanted. So there's my question. The order for an antibiotic to be given every 8 hours. The recommended dose is 15 milligrams per kilogram of body weight every 24 hours. The infant weighs 22 pounds. How many milligrams of antibiotics should the infant receive per dose? So there's two ways that I can set up dimensional analysis, but it's all based on fractions. Heavily leaning more on unit of measure cancellation rather than the fractions, but it does follow fraction rules. So I could use this here, or I can use brackets, which were further down, I think. Yeah. These brackets, anything that should indicate multiplication in between. I thought I saw brackets that had fractions in them. I'll have to look again. See, there they are. So I'm not sure if that one there would work for me or this one, but we're going to try several different things. Let's start with just using fractions, okay? So to answer this problem, we begin with what is the question asking for? And it's asking for how many milligrams of the antibiotic. So that means in the numerator position of the first fraction, I'm going to put in milligrams and then the equal sign, okay? And then comes the second fraction. So then I have to either indicate multiplication here or use a mathematical symbol that means multiplication, like parentheses or whatnot. That's our preferred way. We teach them to write this out in what we call a T-bar, which I'll show you in a minute. Put the next fraction in. The next one would indicate I need 10 milligrams in the numerator position and 1 kilogram per, wait, I'm sorry, I was looking at a different problem. 15 milligrams over 1 kilogram, multiplication, fraction, and that's 1 kilogram over 2.2 pounds is my conversion. And my infant weighs 22 pounds. And then we teach the students that there's an understood 1 under there because they don't have very strong mathematical skills. The next fraction would be 1 day. And on the bottom of that would be 3 doses. Okay, so then they're going to do their multiplication and they're instructed to multiply all of your numerators together. That's 15 times 1 times 22 times 1, which will give you 330. And then they could divide each denominator into the 330, but because of the lack of skill, we tell them just multiply all your denominators together, which will give them 6.6. And then they divide those two numbers, the 330 by the 6.6, which is going to give them 50. Now, before all that, they have to go through and cross-cancel out the units of measure that they don't need, which would be really beautiful if I could get the system to do that so that they could say kilograms cross out, kilograms cross out, pounds cross out, pounds cross out, day and dose day. Oh, okay. Let's see, in the front, I might have a day up there. So it's going to be milligrams is left, and then I've got day and dose. I don't know why that day didn't cross off, but we'll figure that out later. So it would be 50 milligrams is their answer for this one. Let me just check on the day and dose. Yeah, that's the end of it. It's just 50 milligrams is what they're going to give per dose. Okay, so, and that's because there was 3 doses in a day there, so that's what took care of that part. Okay, so it's per dose. We're going to say per dose. That's what we want to see. That's what we want the students to submit as their answer to this question. I would like it so that the system knows the student has to put 15 milligrams in the numerator position of the first fraction, that the student has to put 2.2 pounds in the denominator of the second fraction, that they have to have 330 on the top of their final fraction and 6.6 on the bottom of this fraction, not just did they get the right answer. What we're teaching at basic setting up dimensional analysis isn't about the answer. Yes, we do want them to eventually get the right answer, but right now we know they can divide, we know they can multiply. What we need to know is, can you figure out this pattern? Can you decode the question and set up the pattern correctly to solve the problem safely? That's what we want. So that's what I would like to see with that. Now let's hit next, and then this happens. Okay, and I don't know what to do next, because I'm like, what are you talking about? Your answer formula has variables. Look at all those variables, and it's not the question in the question text. Adjust your answer formula to continue. That's where I'm stuck every time. I don't know what it's saying. I don't know what it's asking me to do. I don't know how to correct the problem. So those who understand the depth of mathematics and the coding that goes into this might be able to help us to get where we want to be with what's already there, or perhaps by seeing it this way you can see that we need to do something different. I don't know. So let's take this out and let's try something different. Alright, so let's go over here. So I started playing around with all these different things to see, well, is there something different in there that might work? No. This is the one that looked closest. It's one of these two with parentheses and with square brackets. And I'm not sure what the mathematical difference is. Brackets is closer to what we use with the students because we use something called a T-bar, but it really is brackets is what it is. So again, in the beginning of this fraction, we would put the milligrams equals, and then set up my next bracket, and it would be 15 milligrams on top, 1 kilogram on the bottom, another set of brackets, 1 kilogram, 2.2 pounds, and that's going to be 22 pounds for this infant. And I always tell them to put that 1 in there just so that they're safe. That's the most important thing. I'm going to leave it. No, I do need the 1 day. 1 day, 3 doses. And that is going to be 330. 6.6. And then my final answer is 50 milligrams. Again, I would want them to cross cancel their crossways matching units of measure, but it won't do that. Now watch, it's going to give me the same or different error. Yeah, it's all the same. So it could just be end user lack of knowledge on how to work with the formulas. And I'm a very willing and happy learner. I'm happy to learn, but I also need whatever we learn and choose to do, it has to be easy for the student end user to enter the data. I would prefer that we just had a dimensional analysis selection. So like when I chose my test, I'm just going to cancel this out. So let's do another test. All right. Wouldn't it be nice if in here, instead of these two, my next one was a plus bar and said dimensional analysis for dosage calculation. Oh, that would be beautiful. And then, we would know, and the instructors would know when they're setting it up, that's the one that we need for medicine, and it would have baked into it what we need to set up worksheets, what we need to set up quizzes and tests. And we can't be the only school that needs this. Every school pretty much uses dimensional analysis. So I'm hoping that there's something that just needs to be adjusted in the background or flipped a switch somewhere, and we'll be able to get what we need. It's definitely better to have the students do all their work in the Blackboard platform. After all, that's what it's there for. As it is right now, everything goes on paper, and it's very labor intensive to manually grade every single paper and every single quiz, making sure that the students have their setup correct. I hope this makes it a little more clear what we're hoping to achieve. If you have more questions or more specifics, please let me know. I'm very happy to demonstrate what we would like to see and have done. I will show you while I'm here. Let me pull up an answer key. Okay, so this is an answer key that shows this is the T-bar that the students have, which is blank on their sheet, and then they have to read their question, decode it, and then put everything into the correct box and solve for it. And then I just use a table to build these in here. But the problem with the learning system is you have to make sure everything's accessible. And we get into trouble with tables and stuff like that. So there's a lot of contingency rules that make it really difficult to achieve our end goal. But anyway, that's what it looks like when the student gives their correct answers. And you see here how they have to cross out the units of measure. Anyway, I hope that's helpful. Thanks. I appreciate your assistance.